Hello. It's been a while. Yeah, life has been busy. Lots of interesting things, lots of good things going on. But yeah, not a lot of time to make any videos, and I've missed doing it. But I've got a little bit in my head about making videos. I had all these like elaborate ones planned. Practicing a bunch of stuff. I do have some good stuff to share with you in the future, but I want to get back to just making some videos because there's stuff I want to try, rather than there being like some big overarching project. So I'm going to try and do a series of videos where I just tackle some stuff, or make some quick interesting ideas, or just try and explain some concepts, and we'll see where we get to. So I was looking through my reference folder and I found this image. It's a cool looking image, and I want to have a go at making this properly using correct topology, or good topology. I think this image is made using booleans, which is a really fast way of working. It's quite a fun way of working, but it's not ideal for coming up with good topology. It can leave you lots of messes to fix. And I've been working on some techniques for doing car modelling and kind of hard surface industrial modelling that's really changed how I work, and I think this will be a good one to try and tackle using that. So I'm going to work for about an hour and we'll see where we get to, and it's going to be a tutorial, but I can't promise that it's going to be perfect because I haven't tried this. I don't know how it's going to play out. We might get stuck. We'll fix some mistakes, but yeah, stick with me and we'll see where we get to. So, in the past, I would have modelled this by starting with maybe a cube or a plane, kind of extruding and inserting faces, and then sharpening it up afterwards. And I would often find that a lot of the curves, because I was adding all of these edges in at the end, a lot of the curves would lose shape, and I kind of end up with these lumpy models. And nobody wants a lumpy model. So, this new approach that I've been working on involves mapping out your object to start with, building all the outlines. That way you can kind of visualize where you need to connect and where the curves are in advance, and you're not kind of then at the end, at the last minute, putting in all of these edges, tighten it up and finding that you've got lumps and bumps along the way. It'll make more sense as we get into it. But if we start by looking at this shape, we've got, so it's the same shape twice. It's this one, it's then flipped. So this is the back side of this one. And there's a couple of things that are trickier on here to do. So these shapes here are sitting on a curve, which is always a nightmare to do. And we're going to tackle that last, and we're going to ignore that for now. So we're going to focus to start with on this edge here, and this edge, which I think runs all the way through to the back. It looks like it does. And we've got a little hole here, a couple of holes here, this cutout here, and this recess here. So we're going to start by building out the side of this. So the way I like to work is to start with a single vertex. And then we're already in edit mode, so tab into edit mode, and then we're going to start to build this basic shape out. So I extrude it down, and at this stage this is just kind of roughing things out and blocking things out. So I'm going to assume you kind of know what's going on here, but I'm just extruding the shape along the vertexes along the axes, keeping everything straight. So I mean, I probably didn't need to make this by hand because it's essentially a rectangle. And by essentially, I mean it's a rectangle. So we're just going to connect these two faces up. Use the F key. They're not quite straight, so I'll scale them with the 0. Okay, so we've got this shape. And what I want to do is we're going to put in this little dip here. So actually the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to put on the subsurface modifier to smooth it. And that gives us this, which we don't want. And the reason, I'm sure you already know this, but just in case you don't, is that there's nothing telling Blender in between these gaps what should be there. So it's trying to interpolate, it's trying to smooth a curve. And as soon as we put an extra vertex in here, so I'm going to use Control and R to put a cut, and then I'm going to use G, tap it twice to slide it out, you can see that corner tightens up. So we already know in this object we're going to need vertex on these corners as well to tighten things up. So we're just going to put these in now. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, so it's always just double G to slide it along the edge that you've already got there. And that's going to become very useful later on. Okay, so we're going to just put these in like this. So we've already got some slightly rounded organic edges, which, even though we're making a hard surface object, it's that kind of stuff that sells the photorealism. It makes it much more believable, and it's much more satisfying to look at here. Okay, so now we want to put in a little cutout along this section. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to Control R, and then just slide these along. G twice. So maybe something like this. It doesn't really matter. You know, you can create your own design from this, but so I'm going to select this edge for now and just delete it. And then we're going to select both of these points and extrude it down. And again, you'll see we're getting a curve there, which you may or may not want. And then if we hit F, it will join those two together. So now to tighten this curve up, we're going to put a point in there, a point in there. And then we're going to do something here and just tighten that edge up. So now I don't really like how this is going because we haven't got an edge in here yet. So just put that in there. And again, you can be really precise about it. Like a better way of doing this would be to put two cuts in using the mouse wheel and then scaling out so that they are consistent, except I can't see because my axis line goes along. So that's another way of working just to make sure that they're exactly in the right place. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think that's okay. We could try, I don't know if this is the shape I want, we could try scaling in like that. Yeah, that's more interesting. Okay, cool. So we've got that shape in there. And we're going to do this shape down at the bottom. So exactly the same process. Going to cut in, slide along to, it's quite tight to the edge there. And then we're going to do the same thing maybe here. And I'm just going to delete that. Bring this up. And it'll start automatically smoothing. I'm just going to scale these in as well a bit, because I think that's the shape it is. Then we'll F. And then we're just going to put our edges in again. So you need 3 points to make a corner, and the tighter these are, you'll see that the closer these are to the edge, the tighter that corner gets. So I like to have a bit of smoothness, a bit of flow. Okay, so we're looking good. So we've got this kind of basic shape. Now we've got these two sections here. Now I think this is a cutout as well. It's maybe more of a, I'm going to make them both the same cutout anyway. So our 3D cursor is there at the moment. So if I hit Shift A and add a circle in, then I'm going to rotate it, and I think we can get away with having 8 faces. It makes it much easier for poly modeling later on. So we're going to move this, and we're going to make up this element here. So something like that, and we can scale this up and down a little bit anyway. And then we're going to edit in, delete these, and I'm going to select both of these, Shift D, and then if I scale it on the y-axis to minus, well, that doesn't work. Why didn't that work? Do you know what? If we just go to mesh mirror, and we'll mirror it on the y-axis, there we go. I told you there's going to be some mistakes along the way. I think I want this further along, and we're just going to scale moving down, so it's kind of there-ish. And then we're going to select both of these vertex like that, both of them like that. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So you can either go to Add Modifier, Subdivision Surface, or you can hit the Command 2 key. Okay, so you can see it's basically the shape, but it gets a bit weird in the middle, and that's because, again, we just need to tighten this up. So I'm going to put 2 cuts in there with the mouse wheel, and just, in fact, let's do that. 2 with the mouse wheel, and push it back to there, and we're going to do the same. We should have much tighter shape. That looks good. Yeah, it's an even curve all the way through, so that's fine. So we're going to now, I think I'm just going to scale this down a little bit, position it maybe here. Again, doesn't really matter. I'm just going to duplicate this one, put it underneath. And then because we made these not in the edit mode of this one, we're going to select all of these and then select this one last and then hit Control J, and now everything is on this face. I think I've made this a little bit too long. Again, it doesn't really matter because it's just for us, but this is looking better. Okay. And then again, it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to select everything. I'm just going to put this up on this axis here. and kind of leave that there. Okay, so in 3D mode, we've just got this, which is cool. Let's move it along here. So we're not going to mirror this because we know that this back section is different. So let's tackle the front now. But before we do that, we're going to select this, 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 and this. In fact, no, we're not. We're just going to select these two. Okay. And then if we go to this front view, I think it's actually the back view. So let's go to this front view. And then hit E, and we're going to extrude along the x-axis. And we're going to go all the way to like, well, that would be, yeah, we're going to go to there. And then we're going to pull this one back. So, what do you reckon? It's probably not, it's probably a bit over halfway. And then we're just going to make this shape here. So we're going to do this whole thing, we're going to extrude down, and you'll see it does our curve again. We won't worry too much about that yet. So one like this, and then maybe one like this, and down, and then we want to connect these two with the F key. Okay, let's see if we can tighten up our shape and see if we've got what we want. And the great thing is, we can just play around with it at the moment because we haven't built anything in 3D at all. So we're just tightening and polishing. So like this is a hard edge up at the top. We may end up deleting a lot of these points because we won't need them, or we'll have to change to make the topology work the way we want, but I'm going to have this a little bit looser, I think. I'd like a bit of a curve, but... And then this straightens up at some point, so you get that. That kind of looks right, I think. Maybe this section we might just try bringing this over a little bit and sliding this up a little bit so we get more of that curve. I might be inventing this curve, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm going on. I think I'd like to make this a bit narrower, so we're just going to bring this over. And again, we can just kind of play with the curve until we get to where we want. That's pretty cool. So in 3D mode now, we're looking like this. So you can see we're building the start of our shape already. Okay. So now we're going to mark in these sections. So I want to make sure I'm working on the right plane. So I'm going to pick up this corner here. And then if I hit Shift and D, and then move it into this center spot, we're going to try and get fairly consistent spacing around here. So again, we don't have to be following it super closely, but I think it's helpful to have a reference to work from. So we're going to do something like this. In fact, I might just turn off subdivision for now, just so I can not get distracted with these curves. Also try and get the spacing looking cool. So we've got one like this. And then we might just pick up these edges and duplicate them, because we know that that's the curve that we want to run along. So we're going to duplicate that one. So this one's going to go... Let's pick up this as well, so we've got the same... Something really useful to turn on, I've already got it on, is this button here. We don't need it at the moment, but we might do later on. So we're going to get those roughly in place. And then I'm going to select both of those, go edge at center, and I'm just going to slide this down. Okay, nice. So this kind of maybe to here. So we're going to put a point in there and extrude this along here. If I don't like this, I can fix it. So if we select both of these and then hit the full stop period key, choose active element, and then scale along the x-axis, yep. And set it to 0, it'll snap them both in line, so we know they're straight, like that. Okay, good. Right, it's not the right key, so we'll delete that. Now let's see, we want to do... This kind of curves down here, so we'll do this one. And then let's extrude across like this. Let's just slap these ones together again, something like that. And then we do the same trick, so this will be on the y-axis this time. So scale y 0. Don't work, scale z 0 even, sorry. Face. And we'll just bring this up a little bit so we might just do some correcting. We move up on the Z. And we'll just move that over like that. And final shape. So we're going to pick up both of these. So we've got that edge. Bring that down. down on the Z. Do the same thing on this one. And we're just going to scale that to there so they match. And then here to make the face. Okay, so that's not exactly that, but close enough. And then we're just going to turn on our edge. And then we're just going to go through the slightly boring process of putting in all of our and you get to play around with how tight you want these curves to be. So if we do something like this, maybe this one can be a bit softer, so you get more of that curve in there. That's pretty nice. Well, I want to tighten this one up, so it needs one here as well. So you can have like a more pronounced curve end at certain points. I've just put an extra one in there that we don't need. It needs to go in here. So again, I might do the same trick here, so it's not quite such a tight curve. But I want this one to be super tight, so we'll go down. And you could come up with, I guess with any design, it's a good idea to come up with a set of rules. So know which corners would be sharp and which ones would be soft. But also, well, you can just play around with it until you're happy with it. It's looking like something. Keep going, just keep adding these curves in. Not curves, sorry, vertex. Now I've fallen into a trap here because this is marking this curve, so actually this wants to go in this space here. So I know this is kind of boring, and my method is definitely not the fastest. Like there are much faster ways of doing this, but it does. This has really like changed my ability to do complicated shapes. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this technique. So okay, so we've got this shape here. Now we know that for our design anyway, this is going to be the same on the back. So we are going to just angle. So they're only picking up what we need. Right, take a few goes at the shift key. And then we're going to hit shift and D, duplicate, move this along to the back. And then we're going to get it kind of roughly in place. And because I've got this on, it's actually snapped a lot of it together. But we're just going to select everything with the Alt key and hit M to merge by distance. And it's not merged, I think, so that's good. We've got everything right. Okay, so now, let's for now put this edge in here. I don't think I want this to go all the way across. This one goes all the way across. And we'll do something with that in a minute. But I think I'd like this to be kind of set in. So we'll tackle that shortly. So we're going to do the same trick. We're going to select these. Shift D, move it along, and eventually you should just get to a point where it looks like it's snapped in. And when we do that, I'm just going to zoom in. So it hasn't done it here, which is good. That will give me an excuse to show you. If I hit the L key now, should we have to select everything in one go? There we go. I think that's close enough to, yeah, that's merged in now. Okay, so you can see we've kind of got the basic layout of our shape. We've got pretty much everything to work with. So this part here, because we're going to make some cuts into it, I'm going to tackle this all as one smooth shape and then do the cuts in afterwards. It will make more sense why I'm having to do that way later, but let's mark this section out as well before we get too carried away. So I'm going to Control Shift and work my way along until I've got maybe, no, we don't want that one. Okay, we're going to hit Shift and D and move this back. And I say, yeah, that looks like a good spot. So we're just going to join these up with the F key. And also let's join that with the F key. So I want that to be that kind of cutout. Okay, cool. So we are nearly there. We're nearly there. There's just a couple of extra details. So there's these little circles here. I think they're kind of versions of this, like not actually circles. So we could just use that again. And then there's definitely a circle that runs all the way through here. So let's do the one on the end first. So I'm just going to select from this side, hit Shift and S, cursor to selected. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to make another circle, but I want to make sure it's aligned to this part of the design. So I'm going to stick to an 8-sided 8 vertices circle again, and it's only a tiny little hole. Let's put it in here. I might make it a little bit bigger just for this example, but okay. And then we are going to we're going to duplicate it and move it along, and then we're going to get it roughly in place, and we'll snap it into the right place in a second. Okay, so we've got these 2 circles, and then I'm going to select this last, hit Control and J, so it's all merged into one. And if I select these, and then select that, and make sure I've got active element selected, and then we're going to scale it back. So we know that we've now got a circle that runs all the way through. It's in the right place. Let's pick up this. So L key will select all the linked geometry that isn't connected to anything else. Super useful shortcut. Shift and D, and we're just going to scale this down loads, and I might scale it up like that. Something more like that. And then we're going to position this, rotate it 90 degrees on the... Hang on, let's just put this back to bounding box center. See if that works. There we go. Let's make this a bit wider still. Something like that. And then we're just going to duplicate it and move it along to the end. Okay, so this seems like a good point to... Oh, before we go any further, actually, we know these are going to be... What do we want these to be? I think these are going to be recesses. Decesses? Recesses. Do we want them on the other side? Yeah, I think we do. So it's going to do the same thing, select both of them, duplicate, and then choose one of these points, go back to active element, scale on the x-axis, hit 0. Cool. This is already looking pretty satisfying. So this would be a good point to save. Okay, so what we need to do now is start actually joining all of these up. So a really key thing to remember when you're doing hard surface modeling and you've got a subdivisional surface on is that all of these edges need a loop around them to keep them tight, and it can actually be really hard to add those in at the end. So we're going to do this early on. I'll explain what I mean. So if we select all of this and then we make sure we've got bounding box center selected, and then hit E and S, so E to extrude and then S to scale. That's going to be a little bit unwieldy, but it will then put a loop around the edges. Now you can see we've got these red faces. I will fix this in a second and explain what that means. So we're just going to select these and these. I'm just going to pull these, scale these on a Z to just even geometry of it. So what's going on here is we have flipped faces. So when they've got the material on, I've got a matte cap on here. You might have studio on. This is called face orientation. So if I turn that off, you'll see that my shading looks a bit weird, and that is because these faces are facing one way and these faces are facing the other way. It's a big problem in 3D software that when you're working in a single polygon, it's actually only visible from one angle. It's not a piece of paper, it's a piece of magic space paper that only has one side to it. So for turn on face orientation, which is I like to have on when I'm working, you'll see that I have my material on this side and then I have a red face. So if we select all of these and then hit Alt and N and then choose flip, they're now all facing the right way and we've got a nice uniform material. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on the other one. So again, we've got the same problem. And we're just going to select all of these vertices, scale on the Z's, just kind of make the spacing a bit more consistent. And if I select everything and hit Alt and N, you should be able to recalculate outside, and often that will correct any issues. Okay, so we've got an edge loop here. We're going to do the same thing on these. So again, like every process is a little bit time consuming and tedious, but it pays for itself in the long run. I think we can just scale on the Y straight away. Hit the A key, select everything, Shift N to recalculate outside. So we're just going to work our way around all of these loops. And again, we might encounter some situations where we need to do this afterwards by hand for some geometry, and that's not a problem, but we might as well make our life easy whilst we can. So let's just do one of these now before I flip the faces. Hey, and then hit. So we should have, and this kind of illustrates it better. So when we're looking away from the model, it's red, and when we're looking to the correct side, it's the material, and this will be on the inside. You won't see it, so it doesn't matter that it's flat and red. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on these ones, because these all need supporting with a loop. So same technique, just scale it out, and then if it's looking a bit tight, but I think, yeah. See, sometimes you might need to go in by hand and just kind of pick up these edges, and it can definitely get confusing. This guy's, and it doesn't need to be a huge loop. Doesn't need to be a huge loop. You want it to be tight, but just kind of as neat as you can. So we've done this one. And the smart thing would be, I think, to do this face entirely and then duplicate it to the back. So we might not worry about the back section for now. Like I said, I haven't planned this. I'm kind of working it out as I go along. This is how you'll actually tackle problems. You'll have an object that you need to make, and you'll problem solve as you go. And that, because I'm a nerd, that for me is part of the appeal, the bulk of the appeal of 3D. Okay, because it's stressing me out seeing it like this, we're just going to recalculate the outside of everything. Okay, so we're getting there, 2 more to go. And then I can start to actually show you why we're doing it this way. This one might be a little bit tricky because of the... No, it's actually been pretty forgiving, so we can go with that one at last one. Perfect. So shift down, recalculate outside. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start connecting everything up, and things will start to make more sense. So what we can do is select 4 vertices like this, because we always want to be trying to make quads, and then hit the F key and it will fill that. So we're going to fill in these 4 sections, and we're going to leave this one at the moment because we have this extra shape to deal with, and I'm just going to move this up slightly because I don't want that crashing into my circle. So things like this will help show why we're using this approach rather than just hacking into things. Okay, so let's look at this corner. So we can connect these 4. We've already got these to go. Now at the moment there's nothing for this edge to connect to, but we could put a corner in, slide it along so it's roughly in place, and then fill this in. And because we've already got the subdivision surface on, we'll see how it reacts. We'll see how our topology is working. And we're going to do the same on this corner. And we've already got a corner on that one for some reason, but not on that. And we're just going to slide this over a little bit. So GG to slide. And then we can now fill in this. Okay, so you can start to see how this works. It means every time we already know what points we have to hit to get the curves and the shapes we want. So what we have here is we don't have anything along these edges to work on. So we're going to have to start manually putting some in. And we might find that we end up with too many, but the trick for me at the moment is to work out what we already have that we can use. So we've got this already in place. So we can fill that in, and we can do this one as well. Likewise with this. And it starts to become just like doing a puzzle. Like I find this really relaxing because you're just looking for things that are already set up the way you need them to be, and how you're going to connect everything up. So we know those work. We could connect this one to this one. And we're definitely going to have to add some in, and that's fine. It's not a problem to do that. So let's, for now, connect these. We might need to change that. And yeah, we're going to leave that for now. Okay, so we're starting to fill in this shape. let's have a look at this flat section. This should be pretty easy to fill in. So we've got these two. We've got these two. And we can just fill this face in. So it's always 4 faces at once and then hit the F key. And now we have, how do we want to do this? I don't think I want to join this to this. I don't think that makes sense. I've got 2 vertices here and I don't know why. So let's get rid of these. So we could just slide them down. And as long as you've got this turned on, they'll disappear. So let's take these out for now. I think we needed these to start with because this line wasn't anchored to anything, so it was curved. And again, we might need to put these back in again. But let's put a line from here to here. Oh, in fact we can't because we've got this in. So let's put a line from this edge here to here for now. So we're going to select both of these and hit the F key. Okay. And that's just me starting to think about how I'm going to connect these up. And then we might have to go 6. This line is so long that the middle point is there. So we're just going to put this in and slide it to about here. And let's connect those up as well. So the F key to connect that. Okay. I've definitely made my life more difficult by having that object in, but I would really like to include it to see how we get on. And we don't need to worry about this. We know these are going to stay in the same place for now. So maybe we do need to worry about. No. Okay. Sorry. I'm just thinking as I go here. Cool. So let's now put in some bold shapes that we're then going to fix later on, because we know we can run these 2 to here and these 2 to here. And it doesn't matter that these are on an angle because this is completely flat. So we're actually going to be able to get away with all sorts of topology that you shouldn't be allowed to do. But what I've done there is it connects to the back face. So we're going to connect this to this, this to this. So that's a big chunk done already, nice and smooth. And let's have a look at what we can connect here. So we know we can connect these 2. And actually, if I select this now, it should, and hit the F key, it should fill that space. And then it gets stuck again. So something weird going on there. I think it's just because it's not got enough geometry to work with. So we're going to do the same thing the other side. Just connect these up, and those faces are the wrong way around now, which is going to cause some other problems. So again, we're just going to select these faces, shift and then to recalculate. It's actually gone the wrong way, so we're going to flip those. Okay, and then hopefully if we connect these up, the weirdness should go away. And the reason that we have the weirdness is because I haven't put any supporting edges in here. So we're going to fix that. So if I put a loop up here, Control and R, and then tighten that up, that's already half the problem solved. So I want that nice and tight there. I'm also just going to make sure that I've got shade auto smooth on, which I have. Maybe I'll put another. Yeah, there we go. Shade smooth, sorry. Okay, so now we know we're going to have to continue this line around to make our sharp edges. So let's move this to here and this to here. And what we can actually do is hit the F key between these 2 and then put another vertex in there. And I'm just going to make sure I'm working entirely on that view. Again, it doesn't have to be super tight here, but now we can connect these faces and we'll just make sure we've got the right ones. So you can see we've got a nice tight edge along there. And we could actually connect this up. Can't put a whole polygon in there yet, but if I put another cut in there, and again we might end up deleting these, we will just find out. But let's put this in. We've got to face the wrong way, so we're going to set both of those, recalculate. You've got some lovely, like, smooth, soft geometry there, exactly what we want. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on the other side. So we're going to connect these 2 faces up. And, if you're feeling really advanced, we could do it without going into side view. We're just going to put it kind of there. Again, you can really take your time with this and get it super precise. but there's a lot to be said for just working fast sometimes. Okay, I've done something stupid here. Yeah, I've joined the wrong faces together. This is the danger of working in 3D, is that you're working in 3D. Sorry, let's go on. There we go, nice and smooth. And then let's see if we can do the same trick at this end. So, I'm going to connect this edge to this edge with the F key. Put another vertex in there, Control R. Make sure he's sliding and not moving. And then I'm going to connect the faces like that. And the faces like that. So we've taken care of our recess. We're just going to fill in the back. And we're going to have some crazy geometry going on as well, I think. But I'm just going to turn off subdivision so I can see a little bit better here. So we're going to turn this into one group of 4 and then another one here. So we just need... For some reason my keyboard doesn't always pick up the double press. So we're going to put one here, and then we can select these 4 faces like this, and then do the same thing here, and do that. And then if I smooth, I think we're going to end up with, I mean, I actually don't mind that. That's pretty nice, but... Okay, so we can do the same on the other side. So, select those 4, select those 4, so yeah, and then we'll go, okay, those 4, and we should now have that section done. Nice. Okay, so we could now, all of this part is going to be flat. So let's start filling in these parts, and I feel like we're making a bit more progress. So let's try a view from the top. And again, like, it doesn't really have to be super precise. We can move stuff around. I like to work pretty fast and then fix as I go, which might be why I have to fix a lot of the time. So just check that I've got the 4 that I want, and then hit the F key. And now we're getting a little bit of some odd stuff going on. And that is because... well, let's put in more of our faces. I think it's because it's trying to interpolate and smooth between all of these points and doesn't have enough data to work with. So I'm going to put another one, and I might just space these out a little bit so they're not quite so tightly focused. So yeah, you can see that's actually fixing a lot of our problems. So we can do something like this. Now we're definitely going to have to put some more cuts in because I don't like the way this is now moving along like this, and I think if we were to put an edge in, that would tighten up much better, but we don't want that in yet until we finish doing these other parts. So we're just going to carry on and give ourselves some points here, and then just make our faces like this. Okay, let's tighten it up now, and we might end up putting another one in later on. We're going to want this line now to run all the way along the edge, but conveniently we already have that, so let's hit F to make that point, and then if we use G, so if you hit G twice, it will only slide along the geometry that you have, but if you then hold the Alt key, you can put it out like that. So now we can connect this edge up, and if we ignore what's going on here, we've got a nice kind of clean run round. And we're probably going to have to put something in at the bottom part here to tighten that up, but we will look at that in a second. Okay, I think I am going to actually start treating these as separate faces because I really want to finish this section off. So let's delete this vertices here. I'm just going to hit dissolve for this one. You could have slid it down as well, so it disappeared. So we've got these 4 here. Let's connect that up. Just for now, I think we might have to put this back in again, but let's keep it in actually. So we're just going to put a cut here and do this here and do this here. So actually, I think all we would need is another cut through there, but let's finish this off first. So I should turn off subdivision because sometimes it makes it easier to see what is and isn't going on. So we'll connect up like this, and then we need an edge in here to connect this to, and we're going to want another edge here which we can connect this to. Nope, it's a big B. It'll be fine. If I die during the filming of this, what a way to go. Okay, so we're going to connect that up. And then we can run, so we want an edge that runs along here, and it's not going to, let's turn on our subdivision. So let's see what happens if we put an edge in here. All it does is tighten up that edge, which I already want tightened up, so that's fine. So we'll put that in there. And then we can connect these faces. We can connect these faces anyway, because we then need to run. So these are all the edges that you would be putting in anyway to tighten up all the corners, but we just get to work gradually and make sure we're not ruining any of the corners that we already have. Okay, nice. So this isn't working yet, and we will work out what we're going to do with that, but let's carry on for now. Let's see what else we can do. It's looking nice, kind of like a crazy computer case or something. So I don't think we can put off connecting all of these parts up any longer. So we've got 3 edges here. Let's put in a cut here and just run. In fact, we're going to run this one as well. So let's just slide it down so it's kind of roughly straight. So satisfying when you start to fill in big sections of the... And again, like, it doesn't have to be super precise, but obviously, like with anything else, the more time you spend getting something right, the better it looks. And we know to fill in this space, we're going to need another edge here. I might just hold off on that for a minute. Yeah, let's just hold off on that for a minute. So we're going to carry on putting these edges in, and we could put a few in at once for speed. So this one's going to connect to here. This one's going to connect to here. This one to here. And it's good to just keep checking to make sure you've not put any weird artifacts in. Part. We can keep working our way down. Perfect. Okay. So now we can put a cut in here. And what we're going to do is click and then drag it, and it sorts itself out pretty well. But if we click and then hit, oh, sorry, move our mouse, scale it on the y-axis. It's just nice to have it straight, and then we can slide it along. Now, you wouldn't be able to do that on a more curved surface, and we might need to tackle that problem later on, and I'll show you some techniques for that. But look, I'm absolutely hammering all the wrong buttons today. I just want to slide that, and then we can connect these. No, we can't, because we've got an extra thing. So we're going to put another connection in there. This is the problem that you will find just when you think you've got this all sorted. There's an extra edge to put in, so we can do this and then put that point in there, and then we should be good to go. So connect that and connect that, and then we can tick off a big amount of this space. So you can see we're kind of forming our corners here, and we've got our edges. Maybe we want to tighten this edge up a little bit now. I don't know. So we could just slide this over a bit and make that edge tighter. So we're just refining as we go. Okay, and now the bonus is, because we put these edges in, we've got some more of these spiders. So let's put that in. And we could probably get away with... Okay, that didn't actually help as immediately as I thought it might. But we've got this one. This one is nice. And we could do this one, actually. And no, because I've selected the wrong. I think we could even do this. and then connect this to this. So we don't need to be afraid of adding edges in, but if they already exist, then let's use them. Okay, so we're just starting to fill in all of these sections. Now, where can we go? So let's do, what would be a sensible thing to do? Let's fill in as much of this back section as we can. And I think I'm going to make the decision to merge these three because it's on a flat plane. So if I select these and then select this one last and then merge at center, and then if I delete these two edges, so we're just going to check that's not done anything. So yeah, has that put a pinch in? No, the pinch was already there. We're going to fix that later on, so that's okay. Don't worry about that. So I got rid of one. I'm going to do the same thing here. So select that one last, merge at center, and then just dissolve these edges because I just want as little number of faces to deal with as I can do. So let's now connect this one, this one, this one, and this one together. And I think that's the wrong way around, so we'll fix that. But let's also just do this one, and then we're just going to flip. So might look a little bit if I connected the wrong faces again. I think I have. Oh no. It just looks a bit weird because we haven't got enough supporting geometry elsewhere yet. Now it looks weird because I've done it wrong. Okay, so we'll be able to tighten all of that up soon, but it's because none of these other edges are supported at the moment. So we've got that one in place, and can we keep going down? We should be able to just keep going down now because they're essentially the same. And I think if I select both of these and hit the F key, it will keep going down. Don't want to go any further than that because we've got these to deal with. Okay, so we've got this edge, which we're just going to slide into place. So it's a little bit straighter. So we know we've got an edge there, and we know we've got an edge there. So we can just join those faces up. Just make sure you've got the right one selected. Boom. Nice. And then we know we need an edge in here because we're going to need those edges all the way around. And we've got another one to deal with there, so we can connect this up. And we'll do the same at the other end first. So we can connect this up. And then we need another edge loop in here, which we want anyway because it tightens up that. And connect. Hopefully you're not absolutely hating this, as I say, like I find it a very relaxing process to go through, but you might find this the most boring thing you've ever seen, to watch somebody manually build geometry like this. But I promise you, if you can keep practicing this and get good at it, it will really change how you tackle subdivision modeling. Right, let's deal with this little problem that we've got here. Don't think we can put it off any longer. So we just want to connect all of these to any point that we can without ruining our geometry. So we're looking for quads wherever we can find them. So there's 4 points here. So that's the start. And we could actually connect these 4 together like this. And then these 4 can also connect to that. And then maybe we do these 4 to this. These 4 here. So we're always building quads. Have I missed something? Yes, we're going to end up with a bit of an odd shape. Let's just work out the best way to connect this. I'm going to slide this up a little bit to give myself some thinking space. So what we could do is we could slide this down. We don't want to tighten that corner up too much though. So what happens if... Okay, let's connect these 4 together. And then we can't touch this shape of the circle. That's the most important thing, is we don't want to break this circle shape. Let's see what happens if we just make... You know, we're kind of getting away with it. I'd like this to be a quad if I can. I don't know if there's an obvious way of doing that. is it causing us any problems? It's not. Maybe we're just not going to worry about it. And we're going to need to put in a supporting edge here anyway, so that might change a bunch of things. So let's have that in for now, because I don't like how this is kind of crumpling, and we're going to fix that. Okay, yeah, not too shabby. That kind of works. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. We're just going to see if there's any obvious quads that we can form. Annoyingly, we haven't got a lot going on here, but we could make this into a quad, and then this becomes a quad. And you'll see that it's built that geometry that we need, but it's not lost the shape. Okay, so what options have we got here? We could make a crazy quad. This might be... And it's just a case of whatever you can get away with. If it's not breaking the flow and not breaking the model, then it's a successful quad. And you'll see that sometimes even a try is not a problem. So we can make another one here. It's working out rather nicely. And so here we can just add another one in because there's no curve to break. So let's just make our lives easy here and put this in place. And let's connect up these corners using what we already have before we add any more bits in. Always use what you've got. So you see we didn't actually need to add anything more in. So we're looking nice. And we're going to connect up this corner like this. And then I want a bit more geometry down here anyway, so that's worked out fine. And then this part is completely straight, so we need a home for all of these, but it doesn't matter how many extra points we add in because it's not going to affect the flow. So do we need an extra one? Let's go with this for now. And we can just connect this up. And let's just slide this up a little bit. We need one more cup. So we can connect like that. And then for now we can connect like this, but this might need to change. Cool. And if we then... Do we want to connect this edge up? Maybe not yet. I'm going to look at how we're going to fix this problem, just to give you an idea of the approach that we might take in the future. I just want to work on just this part, so I don't get confused. So we're going to rotate like this, and we'll just select all of this, hit Shift and H to hide the geometry that we don't want. Okay, so for turn off transparency, what we don't have at the moment is we don't have an edge loop that runs all the way around this side like we'll do on this side of the case. And if I try and put one in, it gets broken because we've got the circle already in the way. So what I like to do is go through and manually put a path in using the knife tool and then fix it as I go. So again, this will make more sense when we've done it. So just working around and putting a supporting edge loop in. So it can get a little bit scary looking at this point. And we're just going to cut all the way through there. I'm going to go down to this bottom part. And I like to take a break every now and again and apply it so I don't lose my work. Then I'm going to do the same thing. And then we can cut all the way up here. Did I not select a face here? Yeah, or did I just not make all of the geometry for that? Oh, if I just didn't bother to connect up the geometry. Okay, let's fix that first. So we'll unhide those. You know, this is from not planning your tutorials like I normally do and just trying to improvise. So I don't think this is a good quad, but let's see what happens. Yeah, could be worse, could be worse. I think it will work for this. And then we need a line in here. I'm just going to slide that down. And then see if we can get over this quad there. And we've got a slight problem in that I have made an edge, so we're just going to delete this edge for now. That leaves the quad again. Cool. So let's just go back to working on this hardware one. I think I'm going to finish this part up and then we'll take a break and then we'll come back to this. Because I said an hour and we're about an hour in and we've still got a lot to do, but I want to get this finished. Okay, so we're going to use the knife tool and we're just going to connect all the way up to the top. Okay, so what we need to do now is turn off transparency mode and see if there's any easy joins that we can make to fix some loops. So we could do that. Do we need to do that? No, we don't need to do that. So that was okay. So we're just looking where we've ended up with an extra vertex between the points. So we don't want that one. And I think we might be... In fact, this has solved one of our... We can just dissolve this edge. It's still looking a bit funky there. What can I do to... Okay, better, but not perfect. Okay, we're still gonna have to come back to that. And we're gonna merge this. Which way are we gonna go with this? We're gonna go up. There we go. And that should be like that. Everything else I think will be okay. Just this one, we don't want that, so we can just slide that up to there. Something crazy going on here, but I did create crazy geometry, so here you go. So we've got a nice tight supporting edge. I mean, this isn't the worst, but it could do with... I'm just going to check if I haven't got any rogue vertices or anything. Nope. Okay, we'll come back to that. Also, if I just turn on Shade Smooth, I've still got a bit of a... Do I just want to tighten this? Maybe I just want to tighten that edge up a bit more. That's better. Okay. So, we're just going to unhide everything. Yeah, nice and tight. And maybe I've actually tightened that edge up too much, so we can just select it and push it back a little bit. Bring a bit of that softness back in. Okay, so yeah, I think we should save it there. This is the problem. I then just start finding all the bits that we could just connect up again. Yeah, okay, let's save it there, and I'm going to treat us to one bit actually. So if we just select all of these edges, it'll just be satisfied to do it. And then you hit E, extrude, and we just do a little extrude to start with, and then we do a much bigger extrude. Yeah, there we go. Nice to finish on some clean edges. Cool, we are getting there. We're not too far off now. So I'm going to save this, and we will come back in a bit. Okay, so let's see where we're at with this. Let's just extrude this the same way. I think that's tight enough for what we're working on here. Again, we should probably, if you want this edge tighter, we could just recut around. This might get a little bit messy, but let's see what happens. So this is a quick and easy way of doing this. This might also fix some of our problems. So we can dissolve this edge. And a quad there. If we just join that, we can keep our quad there. Yeah, much better. Nice. Okay, let's fill in. Let's do this corner, see what happens. So do we need... We might take these edges out for now. Maybe we do need to keep them. Okay, so we're going to run. It's going to be almost a mirror of what we did on the sides. Yeah, that's great actually. So, and then we've got connect these ones to here. And then we know that this is going to be flat, so we just need to put in 3 points like this. And we can always clean this up later on if we need to. Don't need that extra point. I got carried away. And then we also know we're going to want to run a line down here. So let's fix that now before we get too carried away. That was my fault for not planning ahead. So if we subdivide here, put an extra point in. And if we subdivide here to put an extra point in as well, then we hit the J key. Nope, that doesn't work. Why doesn't that work? Okay, just delete only faces. And we'll put an extra point in there, and then we will do it this way. So connect up like that. Connect up like that, and I think we can then just slide that down and not worry about it anymore. And the quads there. Let me just slide that a little bit. And then we're going to join up like that. Okay, so this bottom corner is a little bit weird because we haven't got anything going on underneath at the moment, but other than that, I think we're pretty good. So let's connect some more faces up. Just, it's worth zooming out and just keeping an eye on what's going on elsewhere. Now, we're going to need to do the same thing on this other side, so it's not going to be a problem to put in extra edges if that's going to help us. So we're just going to slide this along. And maybe put an edge in here, just slide it over. It's a little bit wobbly, but okay, so we're going to put this in here. Aren't you wishing that you just use booleans for this now? And then we've got one quad here. We can do one quad. We're going to need an extra edge. So I'll put one in there. And we can do a quad like that. And a quad like that. And we've filled in half. And we've kept the shape. And we've not put any funky geometry in. And it's given us some extra edges to connect up to here. So it's all working out real nice. And then I think we'll just carry this one straight across. What we should be able to do is link directly to the equivalent corner, which is that one. Okay, so we've got that edge in there. And then if we put another carry on putting these in. I've tackled that part. Let's carry on along this length and connect up these other sections. So we've got a lot of geometry going on there, but it's not actually causing us any problems. This might be a good time to do the same thing on the other side, because then we know how many other edges we're going to need. So you don't even need me to explain what we're doing now. What do we do with this one on that side? You see, I've done the same thing again, because let's undo this. So let's deal with this edge first. So we know that needs to go there like that. And we know we want an edge in there at some point, so we'll just connect these up. So we've got a nice hard edge on both sides. So do we want to connect like that? I think we do. And then we're going to put our 3 points in there like this. Yeah, perfect. Okay, perfect. And then we can carry on and connect like that. Carry on and connect like this. And then these should match up perfectly without us having to do anything crazy. Oh, we go for that for there? Nope. And then we're just going to put another edge loop in here. Deal with this. And then we don't want to get too close to the bottom there. We're going to slide down like this. So this gives us, that's one quad. This will be another quad. So then this will be our last quad. So we've got two nicely patched up sides. And in theory, these should match up now. So if we connect like this, and if we connect, yeah, and we put it might be a little bit uneven because of the spacing, but we can just work our way across, and we can probably keep going over. So I've pushed this geometry back too far. Let's just fix that before we go any further. And you can see we're going to have to tighten up some edges, but let's carry on finishing off everything. So we just want to slide this one over to here. And because we're making nice quads and loops, we can tighten up any edges we need to as we go. So we might decide that we want this a little bit tighter, and we can just slide it without breaking everything. Let's connect, no, we definitely want this one tighter. So let's move this one over here. And then we're just going to connect like this. Oh, that was not a slide. There's a slide. There we go. Cool. So we've made this base. Again, everything's flowing nicely. You might want to tighten this up a little bit so I can just slide it over and you get a tighter edge. Cool. We are on the home stretch now. We've still got some tricky stuff ahead, but we are getting there. Now we could decide, for the sake of cleaner geometry, we could literally just merge all of these together. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to select this one last and merge it last, and then if we do the same thing on the other side. So we're just checking that's not pinched anywhere. That looks good. So we're going to do the same thing. Maybe not quite so tight in there. We'll do it on this one. I think this one will do a job. Merge it last, and then we're going to select all of those edges and hit dissolve edge. Now, maybe I don't want to be doing that because it's left us a little edge. Just compare and contrast. Yeah. Okay, maybe we're going to have to leave it. It's up to you to decide what is more important to you. It's clean geometry. And I'm just going to straighten this edge out because, you know, that's bad. Yeah, it's up to you to decide if it's more important to have like clean geometry on these things in terms of the topology, or you can live with those little bumps. Okay, but I don't want them, so it's gone. Ignore that. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Okay, let's carry on filling in. So we need some points here. In an ideal world, this would be a perfectly symmetrical model, and we would only have to do... Okay, I use this technique a lot for cars, and obviously, if you're not modelling a Nissan Cube, they're perfectly symmetrical. So you only end up doing this work once. It's a nice, satisfyingly big section though. So let's do a quad like that, and then a quad like this. And I think we're going to have to recut this later on because we actually don't want this edge anymore. I didn't realize I'd put that in. Let's remove that because that's going to cause us all sorts of problems. And think we're going to want to put in a... So if this kind of shape is bothering you, and I think that's okay actually, let's put that in like that. So ignore that, I'm not going to explain how to fix that because it's fine. And our curves, blob going, we'll see it, everything's following as it should. So I really shouldn't have put this edge in because it's just created this problem, so we're going to delete that for now. But we are going to have to fix it at some point, I think, because we need this edge. So we're just going to cut across here for now. And then we can connect these up. And we've got our quads again. Oh, I connected that to the wrong side? Yeah, I thought something looked weird. Still something weird going on. I'm just going to turn off subdivision and see, is it just because there's no... Okay, it's fine, it's just because there's nothing there yet at the moment. Okay, and we've made a triangle, which we don't want, so we're just going to slide that over like that. And we have got a vertices, it doesn't have a home, so let's try joining those, and then we can do that. So that's a quad, that's a quad, that's a quad, that's a quad. This is a triangle, but if we dissolve that edge, that becomes a quad. Is there anything we can do to make this a little bit better? I think there is. We could do that, and then put another cut in here. It's perfectly straight geometry and doesn't matter. I think I like that better. Oh, we made triangle there. We made triangle, so I do not like that better. Maybe if we put another cut in there. Connect it back to that. Just breaking stuff here, alright. I did warn you there would be a bit of trial and error with all of this. So we don't have an even number of... Oh yeah, we do. We do, sorry, I'm just forgetting how all of these things work. This is just looking a bit smushy at the moment because we're floating geometry and this doesn't have anything to worry about. Okay. We're going to ignore all of that and we're going to carry on. So, originally I was going to duplicate this over. I don't think I can do that because these require different information to connect up. So we're just going to really quickly do these because you know what we're doing now. I might even time lapse this bit, you know, to... all of these the wrong way around, which would make sense if I thought about it because I just flipped that section over. Okay, you've already spotted what I forgot to do. Is there any way of getting out of doing this? I really don't want to make it again, but I don't think it's going to connect. Let's find out. Okay, we might end up chucking all of this in the bin. Why don't I do it the proper way instead of messing about doing it the bad way? So I'm going to view from the side. And we're just going to drag over those. It should be everything. Let's duplicate it, move it to the end. And then we should just be able to I'm just going to merge by distance to see which ones it will connect up. Absolutely none by the looks of things. Okay, so I just want to flip those faces. Okay, and we're going to connect this one to merge it. No, we don't want to merge it center because we want to connect to that one. In fact, let's just select these linked, push it as tight in as we can because it's not lined up properly. And let's do it even more accurately. So active element, scale, let's go. And that's done a little bit of joining for me. And merge those two at the center. They're connected. Okay, maybe we saved ourselves a bit of time here. I'm going to slide this, then merge those at last. That's connected already. Just merge at last. And you can see we're connecting up now. We've got all of our edges connected. These look right. Okay, that was the right call. Will we do these now? Something weird going on here. What's going on here? It's merged by distance. Check we're not overlapping any vertices. Where's that done that? I think there's something weird going on with one of these edges. There's definitely something weird here because... Oh, we've got a loose vertice there. Which might be a problem on the other side, so we'll go back and check that in a minute, but... we might actually have a couple of loose vertices. Yeah, we've got another one there. So you'll know you've got a problem if it won't let you select the whole loop in one go. Stuck in more progress on. Okay, so just going to pull back a little bit. And pull back some more. Get that sharp edge again. And can we do the same with this one? Oh, we are nearly there. Let's go. And I think we can also duplicate. If we can get this bottom section looking right, we can duplicate a lot of that as well. My puppy has just woken up and decided he's cranky about something, so if you can hear him in the background, we might have to stop in a minute. Let's just see how many of these we can get away with connecting without having to do any extra bits. And again, I want to put an edge cut down at some point, but we've got so much useful geometry here that we're not really having to do anything, which is great. And we all thought we were going to have to sit and watch me construct geometry from nowhere in a very tedious manner. But it looks like everything, and obviously I totally planned this. And we're going to put a cut through here. Some things are looking a little bit weird here. I think that isn't connected to anything yet. So this can sometimes happen, especially when you're duplicating geometry. So we're just going to subdivide this. What are we? Where's this extra thing come from? Can we just delete that edge? There we go. So we might have some loose edges to deal with. There's definitely something weird going down there as well. Or is it just that this is not tight enough? yeah, we've got some extended edges. I'm hoping if I do merge by distance, I'm able to fix some of those issues. Apparently not. So this is what happens when you get a bit lazy and you just duplicated geometry over. So I'm just looking for anywhere where it's, so we definitely got one there. And we've still got some weirdness going on up here. Delete that edge, yeah, I fixed that. That edge. Something's still not right here because we've got that edge. That's just weird now. Oh, Eddie's found a bird. There's another edge there, I can see it. Okay, nearly there, I think. Just, it saved me a lot of time, but I'm sure there's some more in there. We'll find them as we go. Let's not get too distracted by this for now. He says getting distracted by it. That one's okay. Yep. There's something that's not meant to be there, or something's not connected up. Oh, that is not connected up. There we go. Cool. Okay, so I got distracted again. So we know we can run this edge to here. We're going to delete that edge that I kept making that we didn't want or need. And then let's just start connecting up and see where we get to. So we're going to make a quad out of these four. I'm going to move this over, it's very tight here. And we actually want that edge to be much tighter to the side anyway. And then we're just going to whack in a bunch of points here and make our quads quickly and easily. This has ended up being a much bigger project than I thought. I thought I would be able to rattle this out in like 40 minutes, but you know, these things are hard and it takes time to get these things looking right. So we're going to connect up. So we need 2 points here, which is great because what do we need here? Let's do this corner like this. And then technically, this might be too big a quad. Let's do something like that. And then this can be in the next quad. Cool. Again, I say it's just about working with what you've already got first and then filling in the rest afterwards. So I want to put another edge in here because we can. And that then gives me this. And that gives me this. And then we're going to run, doesn't matter if I put another edge in here really. And again, you know we have to do this on the other side, so another edge like that. And then let's try doing one of these. See what that gets us. Big, ugly, massive quad, but because it's on a flat surface, it really doesn't matter. We've got a little pinch here, so what's not happy here? Another edge I don't know about. Why aren't you happy? What's up? Something's not. Something isn't right. It's because there's an edge there again. Cool, so we've got all of this side done. Let's do the base and this bottom part, and then I think we're going to call this part done as well. Again, let's treat ourselves to a bit of extruding, because it always feels satisfying to make something look not flat. Yeah, nice. You can see how our supporting loops are doing their job. Definitely on something here. Okay, let's connect these faces like this. And then I know that I need 2 loops here and here. And then we're just going to connect these up. Something isn't right. What isn't right? I knew something wasn't right here. So we're going to turn off subdivide just so we can try and get into what isn't. And my guess is there's no, yeah. There's no anchor point there. So let's put that in and merge. I'd like to make this flow a bit better, because you can see it's kind of getting lost there. And if I put a cut in through here, and again, the trick is to start making the cuts. That's already holding much better, but then we need to find a way of keeping that as quads, which that works, but we then turn this into a triangle. I don't know how much that matters, especially if we do that and then dissolve this edge. I've turned that into a triangle now though. It's always just problem solving. So that's a quad now in the way that we want. Can I turn that into a... No. Do we worry about it? I don't know. It's not affecting the shape, so maybe we don't need to worry about it. And this one here should connect to here, really. So we're going to push this up out of the way. And I'm just going to carry on cutting this through. And I think we should just hit both of those and hit J. No, of course we can't. Why not? So let's subdivide that. And we're going to connect that with J, that with J. And then we're just going to have a think about how this reconnects that. Nope, that doesn't want to become that. So a much nicer edge here, but don't really want this to be a quad. And the way to fix that would be to connect like this. Dissolve that edge, and we can entirely remove that out. Except we need that for the corner point. So instead we are going to... We're going to ignore it. We're going to ignore it. I don't think it's causing us any problems. So we're just going to carry this edge on to here. It should carry on like that. And this is an easy fix because we can just... It's never an easy fix, is it? Whenever I say it's an easy fix. So we're going to connect like that, and then push that in, connect like that. Much better. Look, these absolutely need connecting, but they're not causing any issues for us, so maybe we're going to end up with an end-on and it'll be okay, but we could just do this. So if I connect like that to that, and that's like that, we have quads again, apart from the triangle in the middle. What about if I do... You know, we've got quads around. I don't know if they're good quads, but Okay, so we can now extrude these back. And then, what? Instantly got an active element, yeah. Oh, I want to do this individual origins. And then we're just going to close these faces off like this. And again, you've got a triangle there, but it really doesn't matter in this context. Nice and sharp, looking good. And we're just going to do the same thing over here. Beautiful. Okay, we have one bit left to fix. And then we have to tackle the circle on the back, but we will come to this. It's a very satisfying shape, isn't it? I think we've done some good work here. Okay, so here's the problem that we've got. We need all these extra edges. But as discussed, I don't want all of these. I want to try and simplify it as much as I can, so we're going to extrude a little bit. We can stop there, and then we're going to extrude again. And we'll find a home for these, but I just want to merge all of these. Or do I? Because I know I'm going to end up needing these to make the other side, so maybe I just have to bite the bullet and take the whole lot. So let's keep going and get this roughly into this spot. I don't know what this vertex is for, so we're going to remove that one. There's some weird pinching going on, but we will find out why shortly. Let's see if we can marry any of these up. So obviously these ones. Oh, got another rogue edge there. I definitely shouldn't have done this shortcut. It's not helped me out at all. There's some crazy waviness going on here, which makes me think that there are some, like, what is not right here? We should not have a big face like that, that's for sure. Yeah, if in doubt, delete the faces and remake. Still something a bit off here. Just checking I've not got overlapping faces or anything anywhere. Just going to switch to different map cap to see if that helps me see what's going on. Let's finish connecting and see if that fixes any of our problems. I don't think it will, but you know, you gotta hope, haven't you? Oh, I mean, it's because we have no supporting edges, so yeah, it's kind of on me. All that big talk about how it didn't matter. Turns out it absolutely matters. So we could now actually just connect this edge to this edge, and we're going to have to do a little bit of fixing as we go, but that shouldn't be like that. These are all okay. That one needs to come back over there, and we've sorted that edge out now. I don't really know why we need this edge anymore. If I just slide it, a lot of problems go away, so that's good. Okay, so let's do some of these jobs the way we could maybe have done them before. So we can extrude this down, and then I can cut a new edge along here to tighten this up, and then that can connect to here in a minute. And then if we join these 4, 3 even, and then slide that down, so we've got a tighter edge there. And the only thing that needs fixing here is these 2 need to connect something else, so I'm going to subdivide this. And then that's going to get J, J, and then I think if we just cut this, I don't know, we had this problem before anyway, it just gives me, I really don't love that triangle there. How am I going to solve that? Like, is it better to have this and dissolve that edge? That's definitely a better corner there. We're going to go with that. Yeah, I mean, you're not that from, depending on how far away you're looking at this. The old 3D Illustrator get out clause. Right, we need to stop messing about and get this edge connected up. So let's delete this edge, and then we're going to select these ones, and we're going to extrude out, and then we're going to snap to this. Make sure we've got active element selected. And then this can actually connect with this one. I'm going to slide that over. This can connect with this one. That can become this. And then let's just take all of these, extrude down. And then this can join this. So what have I done at the other end? There really isn't a supporting edge there, that's fine. So this is going to connect to here. Ah, lads, we're so close now to finishing this. We've got a nice supporting edge there. Now, what can we connect up to move us along? This one. This one. Now things get interesting. Let's do these ones, because then that leaves me this and that. No weird ripping, got something odd. Oh, we've got another edge to accommodate here, so so let's just put a knife cut out of here and across. And that's fixed a lot of problems, but this then needs to become that. Something a bit odd going on here, I think. Yeah, that's not joined. There you go. Okay, so we are going to start hitting some problems now that we haven't got as many points to connect things to. So this will become this quad. And this can become this quad. And this is going to run all the way over now. So we know we need that. I'm going to put in some more points here. Okay, let's get this quadded up. So we're going to do that one, that one. Things are a little bit staggered here, but it should still work. Yeah, perfect. Now we know we need a connection down there like this. And like that. Okay, so this has to connect to this. And I think it would be beneficial to put another cut in there, which you can slide up, and we'll deal with that on the other side in a bit. And we can actually just keep attaching to that one point for that half. Try and put a cut in there, things get crazy, but what we can do is we can put a cut in here and move it to there, then dissolve this edge. Just check where our actual line is. Dissolve this edge and then select all of these and dissolve that edge because we don't have all this craziness going on. And then we're going to run our cut all the way across. I'm going to work out where we've created extra problems for ourselves. One there. What's this edge doing? Okay, we've got a spare edge. We'll find a home for that shortly. Everything else looks right. So we're going to run that line from there to there. And we're cut in there. And we should just be making a smaller and smaller space to fill at this point. Okay, I think what we're going to do is we're going to connect this, that, dissolve this edge. We're going to do the same thing here. Ideal to have a try, but it's not causing us any issues either, so it's fine. And then we're going to connect 1, 2, like that. And that gives us a quad here. Two. We're going to end up with something that we don't want here. It's not looking great. Well, it's not looking great, but if I do this, if I dissolve, let's just get rid of that face. That is another quad, which again, I think we've got an edge here that is doing very little. Let's dissolve this edge and then remove it. And that should mean that we can close that shape up. Was that doing anything, any important work? That's a quad. That's a quad. That is now an n-gon, but you can't tell. Okay, and then we're just going to finish this up the same way we did with the other one. So make sure we're on individual origins. We're going to push it back slightly. Going to push it back some more. We've got to scale it in. And then we're just going to start at the top. Fill those in. Start at the top. Nice. So, we're not quite finished. We've still got this to tighten up, and we've still got the holes to cut. But I'm going to park this video for now, and we're going to come back to just work out any fixes that we want to make. So yeah, obviously a lot of work to get to this point. But we managed to create a really complicated shape without using any booleans, without any nasty pinching, and I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. And I use this approach across all sorts of complicated shapes, and it really has like changed how I tackle difficult modeling projects. Cool. Okay, I'm going to save this video out, and it's going to be another video, I think, where we look at putting the finishing cuts details in, and we might even look at texturing. Yeah, if you managed to follow all the way through, good work, because this wasn't really intended to be a tutorial, more of a kind of workflow, but yeah, hopefully it's given you something to think about in a non-threatening way.